Have you ever tried to build something in the cloud? It can feel like you're staring at a map with 1,000 different roads and absolutely no idea where you're going. Well, today, we're going to unfold that map with something called the Cloud Architecture Wheel. So picture this. You've got a brilliant idea for an app. You want to build it in the cloud. You log into AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and you're all set to hit the ground running. But then it happens. You're hit with this wall of options, hundreds, maybe even thousands of different services. Virtual machines, serverless this, database that, security tools. It's like trying to find your way through a massive, sprawling city, but you don't have a map. Seriously, where do you even begin? That is the exact problem this little diagram is designed to solve. This right here is the Cloud Architecture Wheel, and I want you to think of it as your own personal GPS for the cloud. It takes that chaotic mess of services and organizes everything into clear, understandable neighborhoods. It shows you how all the pieces connect to build one solid application. Every great structure, doesn't matter if it's a skyscraper or a piece of software, it always starts with a really solid foundation. And in the cloud, that foundation is built on 3 core pillars. Let's kick things off right at the top of our wheel. The first 3 pieces of the pie are compute, storage, and networking. These are the absolute bedrock of any cloud application. This is the land, the bricks, and the pipes you need before you can even think about doing anything else. Okay, so let's break these down real quick. Compute, like AWS EC2, that's the brains of the whole operation. It's basically like renting a virtual server that gives you the horsepower to run your code. Then you have storage, think AWS S3, which is like your own limitless digital warehouse for all your files and data. And finally, networking, with something like AWS VPC, that creates a secure, private little island for all your services to talk to each other. And as you can see, each of the big players, AWS, Azure, Google, they all have their own flavor of these essential tools. All right, our foundation is poured, the walls are up, so what's next? Well, you wouldn't build a house and then just leave all the doors and windows wide open, would you? Of course not. It's time to secure our creation. Looking back at our wheel, the next 2 segments are security and identity access. Now, it helps to think of this as 2 different layers of protection. You've got a strong outer wall to defend against attacks, and then you've got an internal security guard who decides who gets the keys to which rooms. So first, you've got services like AWS's Web Application Firewall, or WAF. This thing acts like a shield, protecting you from all the common web attacks out there. Then you have Identity and Access Management, or IAM. This is your internal system, your bouncer, that lets you create super specific rules for every single user, making sure your developers can only touch the resources they absolutely need to, and nothing more. Okay, our app is built, it's totally secure, and now it's a massive hit. Users are just flocking to it. Now, this is a great problem to have, don't get me wrong, but it is still a problem. How do we handle all that traffic without the whole thing crashing down? Well, the key concept here is something called load balancing. Basically, instead of sending all of your users to a single front door, you open up a bunch of doors and you hire a traffic director to point people to the shortest line. This prevents bottlenecks and keeps everything running nice and smooth. This brings us to the next 3 spokes on our wheel, and these all work together to manage performance. We have that traffic cop we just talked about, which is load balancing. We have a system to automatically add more servers when things get busy, which is called auto-scaling. And we have a global network to get our content to users faster, and that's known as content delivery. And here's the cool part. These 3 services work in perfect harmony. The load balancer spreads out the traffic. When it senses things are getting a little too busy, auto-scaling kicks in and just spins up new servers on the fly. And then a content delivery network, or CDN, something like AWS CloudFront, it caches your data in locations all over the world. So a user in Tokyo gets the exact same snappy experience as a user in Toronto. Okay, our app is foundational, it's secure, and it's scalable. We're done, right? Not quite. We need to plan for the one thing that is always inevitable: failure. We need an insurance policy. This leads us to the final cluster of services on our wheel, and they are all about creating that safety net. This covers monitoring, logging, backup, and disaster recovery. These are all the tools that are going to watch over your system and help you get back on your feet when the unexpected happens. Let's think of this in 2 parts. First, you need visibility. Monitoring services like AWS CloudWatch keep an eye on the health and performance of your system, while logging services like CloudTrail record every single action that happens. It's perfect for audits and debugging. And second, you need recovery. Backup services create copies of your data, and disaster recovery services can literally replicate your entire setup in another part of the world, making sure you can get back online fast after a major failure. So, we've completed our tour of the cloud architecture wheel. We've seen how all these different pieces fit together to create a complete modern application. So, the big question remains, which one do you choose? And the truth is, there's no single right answer. The goal of this wheel isn't to pick a winner. It's to help you ask the right questions. You've got to weigh factors like your budget and what your project's goals are. Does your team already know Azure inside and out? Well, that's a huge point for Microsoft. Are you building something with tons of data that could use the powerful analytics and machine learning tools that Google Cloud is known for? Or maybe the sheer variety of services from AWS is the best fit for your complex project? This framework is what helps you make that choice with confidence. The cloud architecture wheel really demystifies the cloud. It transforms it from this overwhelming menu of options into a logical, understandable toolkit. It's a blueprint for architects and a map for developers. So I guess the only question left is, with this map now in your hands, what are you going to build next?